Hey everyone, I just wanted to follow up on a few of the comments and questions and the things people have been sharing around day one of our Yeah But challenge, which was around recognizing that, yeah, but I don't have the time, and the other excuses and reasons and barriers that come with time. So my solution was really to look at the ways that you could make time and to ask yourself the question, you know, what will I give up in order to do the thing I say I want to do? And I just wanted to follow up on a few things because of the great comments and questions we've been getting. So the first one is, what happens when you really don't have the time? You've got other things in your schedule's full, you have other priorities. Remember, this is about just having a clear choice, making that conscious choice. There's no beating yourself up. There's no saying, but I need to make the time. How do I do it? That's not what this is about. It's about just looking at your time and saying, you know what, I don't have the time right now, but also not letting time rule us. Rather, we get to make the choice. So when that happens, what I suggest is this. I want you to try this. Just simply changing your language a little bit. I'm using the example of writing a book, but you can fill this in with anything you want. So if I'm looking at my schedule and I'm like, I don't have the time right now, this is just can't be a priority right now, then instead of saying, I really want to write a book, but I have no time, that's not really fair to this idea of the book, this thing that I say I want to do. And we're not really honoring that by keeping placing this blame on time out there. So instead, try a language shift and say something like this. I really want to write a book, and the time for it will be March or whenever. So it's about, making that conscious choice, making that decision, still honoring what it is you say you want to do, and also not using the word but. I want to write a book, but I don't have the time. There's this project I've been wanting to do, but I never have the time for it. It takes too much time, blah blah blah. Take away that but and use the word and instead, and use some better language that is honoring your decision and doesn't sound so much like an excuse, but rather a choice. I hope that makes sense. So again, instead of saying, I really want to write a book, but, I just don't have the time, we'd say, I really want to write a book, and the time for it is going to be, you're choosing a new time, you're making that choice. While we're talking about language, there really is this yeah but thing that comes up where we're like, there's no time, it's not the right time, it's a bad time. We put all this emphasis on time, and it can really actually create this anxiety or this frustration. I've had this happen to me where it's almost like, oh my god, I don't have the time, oh my god, there's not enough time, how will I get it all done, there's no time. And again, we're just giving away that choice, that decision. We're giving away our power to something out there that we don't really have a control of. We can't actually change the amount of time we have, right? We all have the same amount of time. So again, it's about the language and about taking back that power and making your own choice and choosing wisely. When I was in this place where I was like, I have no time, I realized I was putting all this emphasis on time. It was coming up in a lot of ways. So I actually did some tapping on it in order to change the energy around it, but also to change my language. So instead of going, no time, oh my god, there's so much to do and there's no time, changing the way we look at it, changing the way we think about time, using phrases instead like, I have all the time in the world. I have all the time in the world. I have as much time as everyone else. Time is on my side. This is how I choose to spend my time. This is my time, my choice. Owning that and changing your energy so that you have power over it, and it's your choice, and it's your decision, and it's your time. Time is like a currency, right? It's something we spend. I don't want to spend the time. So if you think of time as being like an account, you get to decide how you spend it. And so the third thing I want to actually mention is, again, this idea of making time. I asked the question yesterday, what will you give up in order to do the thing that you say you want to do? So if you're going to make the time, you only have so much of it. So you have to make those choices. Spend your time wisely. If you're going to add something new into your time schedule, then what will you give up instead? Or maybe it's a bit of a replacement. I say, don't give up stuff that's really important to you. Don't give up sleep. Don't give up stuff that's really important to your self-care. Don't give up the stuff that matters to you, even if it's for a short period of time, because you're going to resent the thing you're doing. Remember, this is about making the time for something you say you want to do. So a great place to start is where you are resentful of where your time gets spent. That's a big clue of something maybe you need to not spend that time anymore on that thing anymore. Stop doing that to make time for this. Or do a bit less of that so you have a little bit more time for this. Another thing you could consider doing is swapping something, even if it's for a short period of time. So if you're wanting to do something like write a book, you could swap another creative outlet for writing a book. I like to knit and watch Netflix and do that for my creative time, knitting. I could give up knitting and Netflixing in order to write, just until the writing is done. So if it's a short-term thing, it's easier to make a swap. So that's an idea. If you're writing a book, maybe for a little while you give up blogging and you let your audience know, I'm not going to be blogging because I'm actually going to be writing the book, but I'll share little snippets as I go. And you might just share 200 words or something of what you wrote just as a snippet. And so you could do a replacement or a swap. If you're adding something brand new in, if this isn't just a short-term thing, like I got to write a book, so I need to make a bit of time for it. If you're adding in something brand new that you want to have in your time forever, you really do have to let go of something that doesn't serve you. And as I said, you could look for places where you kind of resent the time. It might be that you have to make a choice. What will I give up? You might have to give up some sort of obligations or some shoulds. Again, we're talking about the thing you say you want to do. So how will you fit it in? There's lots of things we do that we don't have to do all of it ourselves. And, in my example, I realized I was spending a lot of time volunteering up at the school for things that didn't fill up my bucket. They weren't what I wanted to do. They don't at all serve, my zone of genius, the things that ignite me. I was doing them out of obligation. I was doing them because I felt bad saying no. It wasn't even really to get time with my kids up there. Like, it was other stuff. So I looked at those obligations and I thought, what are the ones that are really about who I am in the world and where I can really serve, and even being there kind of ignites me and I get to practice, some of my skills and my superpowers even in that space. Those are the ones I'll say yes to. And I'm just going to have to say no to the other things. Like, no, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it all. So I got to choose wisely. The other thing is you could be aware of where your time goes. Where does your time go? Because there's a lot of things that just slip away from us. And I know I've done this. I can get really perfectionist when it comes to being creative. And right now I'm working on creating all these hand-drawn images for my Oracle deck. And I can find myself tweaking and fiddling and perfecting and redoing and redoing and redrawing and redrawing over and over again. Like, is it necessary? Of course I want to put out my best product. I don't want to be rushed and half-assed and about it. I don't want to do that. But is, those extra minutes and adding up to hours, spending, fiddling, erasing, starting again, fiddling, photoshopping, fiddling, like, you get into this zone, I get into this zone of perfectionism, and those little fiddles don't really make that much of a difference. And my time is getting spent on that. Is that really my best use of my time? So those are some questions you can ask yourself when you're trying to make time. You know, the places where you're resentful are some clues about spending the time. Things that you could be saying no to, or being conscious of where your time goes. Even as simple as saying, you know, again, this is my example, but I found I was doing all the stuff at home on my own, and I had to say out loud, look, I need some time to do this thing I say that I want to do. I want to write this book. And that means you guys have to pitch in. You have to help with the dishes. You have to help with tidying up. You have to do some things on your own that I used to do for you, or I used to help you with. Everyone's got to pitch in, because that's not all my job. And I can't, if I spend all my time on all of that stuff, I don't have time for the things I say I want to do. And that's the last little thing I'll leave you with is, you know, if we're using time as if the yabat is time and we're using time as the excuse, let's just check in and see if that really is the problem. Because sometimes, you know, we're saying, oh, I want to write a book, but I have no time. You know, we all have the same amount of time. You're choosing not to spend the time, and that's your choice. But maybe you don't actually want to write the book. Maybe it's something you feel like you should do. Somebody told you you should do. You know, so we're talking here about something you say you want to do. You got to want it. And the other thing is, maybe there's other stuff going on. Doubt, fear, overwhelm, other things. And we're going to talk about those yeah buts this week. In fact, I got to go and do another yeah but challenge day with a new yeah but. So I'm going to say goodbye, and I hope those little ideas about making time will fit one of the struggles you're having today. Bye.